on this computer. And we are recording. All right. Ready to get the show on the road?
Here we go.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Got to do the Business Bros every time.
You do that so well, man. And then when you've got a couple of you trying to do that,
It's all harmonic.
Dude, you guys, right there, that's worth $10,000 a show. Just that.
Just hearing that.
And then shut it down.
It's funny because we're starting to try to grow internally on specific platforms, right? So we're trying to push some stuff towards our iTunes. So we just launched basically a commercial to realtors in San Diego on their Facebook, Instagram feeds, that sort of stuff. And it's a video of your iPhone, like clicking on the app and then, what it looks like. And I say on the recording something like, and all you got to do is type in, and then I just got like a montage of people going, Business Bros from the whole show.
That's what you need down in San Diego is all those guys on corners just going out in a bar somewhere. Hey, could you shoot this?
Yeah.
All these people are saying that little
lingo. Yeah, exactly. And it's just a fun little thing. So anyways,
shirts made? Anything like that?
We're that's in process. That's the next step. We redesigned the logo so that we can use it.
Okay.
It's more of a cartoon based one. That's the one that you see now. Okay. But that's the next step. So
well, it's so funny. I just learned a term. I'm watching American Idol, and some dude, Lane Hardy, I think that's his name, came back and was playing guitar for a friend of his. And the three judges were like, dude, you came back. Look, man, you got merch. He had Lane on his hat,
That's right.
So now the old guy at 55 years old, man, it's about getting the merch.
Well, yeah, no, it's funny you say that because, I've had multiple discussions as of late about building your own personal brand.
Yes.
And, it's a generational thing. If you're about my age and older, when you think of a brand, you think of Coca-Cola, you think of Pepsi, right. You think of major brands. But when we talk about brand today, it's just a matter of, how many people know who you are and what it is you do. That's it. That's your brand.
Well, my wife follows 3 or 4 gals on Instagram, mm-hmm. and every day she watches their content every single day. One of them is living with Landon, and she's out of Colorado. Married to a former NFL, I think it was an offensive guard. He was up for the Hall of Fame this year. But, they follow, from like making her breakfast, to, how she's decorating her house, all that stuff, man.
That's the beauty of what social media is. It's really just reality TV. Yeah. Blown up, I'd like to say blown up, but it's really been like shrunk down essentially, right? Now you are your own reality TV show. And if you're interesting, I don't know about you, but when I go to a restaurant, I tend to people watch. When I go to a casino or when I go to a ball game or wherever, I'm people watching.
Well, I was just going to say, you go to Vegas, you can have more fun, honest to God, probably sitting in a casino just watching people, lose their ass.
The emotions.
Than you losing yours.
Right?
Also,
we're into this, and I didn't even introduce you. So, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Sometimes when the conversation just get going, you just kind of get going, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, why don't you tell everybody who you are, what it is you do, and then we'll just keep going at it.
Sounds good. My name's Craig Johnson, and I've been in the mortgage business for 21 years. That floats me away, man. 21 years. I've had a couple of side steps in that. Obviously, we had the great crash that we all went through, and that was what a learning curve for, I think, every single American, that's for sure, during that time. So had a little change in direction, got out of mortgages, doing them full-time, still kind of dabbled in them. Had a stint with T-Mobile. Had never sold a cell phone in my life, and saw an ad for small business reps going out to small businesses. And, the one thing that T-Mo taught me was what it is to hit a quota. I don't know how many of your, listeners, followers have ever been in a sales position where you literally have a monthly quota. And that if you don't hit that number, there was hell to pay. Out of I was with T-Mo for almost 3 years, probably saw, I bet you 15 to 18 reps go through who got, hired and then unfortunately let go because they didn't hit their quota. And you had like a window of 90 days.
But let me ask you this though. Yeah, having a quota if you're an employee really sucks because, I mean, you're not really as passionate as you are as a self-employed individual. However, as an employee, somebody's holding your feet to the fire. And when you're self-employed, nobody's holding your feet to the fire. I mean, imagine how successful, people who go into business for themselves would be if they set, we call them goals. You can call them quotas, whatever you want to call them. Those are little benchmarks that you need to reach, that you're shooting for, that you actually are busy on a day-to-day basis trying to achieve.
Yeah, there's no branch manager or team leader or whatever you want to call that person who's going to come in on a Friday and ask you, did you make your X amount of calls? Did you have X amount of appointments? And at the end, did you have X amount of sales? I've always thought that was lacking. It's kind of funny, and you know this from being in our industry. There's so much. I want to be self-employed because I don't want anybody to tell me what to do, how to do. I want to be my own boss, which is totally cool, right? I mean, that's one of the benefits of doing this. But it's also, unfortunately, you probably know this, the data, NAR puts out every year how many, transactions per agent, are being done. For my 20 plus years, that has averaged right at about 5 transactions a year.
Yeah.
For the average, I mean,
if you calculate how many agents there are, the average agent makes less than $40,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in Texas, but we're in San Diego. Think about it. One home in our area, about $500,000. That's right there. That's 15 grand. So you're selling, less than 4.
Right.
That's, from my home, right, I have a view of pretty much all of San Diego from like IB all the way to downtown. Right. And so at night when the lights go on, I'm thinking to myself, every single light that's out there is a potential client.
Absolutely.
And yet 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that word call reluctance, right, comes into mind. It's so interesting. But again, going back to the idea of having a quota and having a hierarchy hold you to that standard. And if you don't hit it, again, there's going to be hell to pay and you could lose your job. Again, that really taught me. I was really fortunate. I had the opportunity to, when I ended up leaving, I was the #1 small business rep in the United States when I left. And that was such a great people behind me, as always. I think that's true of any, sales job. You've got to have some really, really good people that actually make you look good. But definitely had instilled in me a long time ago, hard work. You gotta, my dad was a football coach and teacher for 40 years. So having
drilled.
Yeah. As I think I shared with you earlier, I kind of grew up with a jock strap around my neck.
Uh-huh.
I was never going to be the head tuba player. That was not nothing wrong with the head tuba player.
It just wasn't in your deck of cards, my friend. It wasn't the hand you were dealt.
Yeah, no, not at all. But sure, got to see a few Friday night, light conversations, if you will, in locker rooms, guys pressing in and doing things that maybe you shouldn't do. I'm reading a book right now. I'll just leave it as yourself.
You guys go. Yeah. Everybody knows what that is. If you're in sales, you know what that is.
We'll keep this as a family show. So, but it's really about those 6 inches in between your ears, right? That self-talk, that subconscious mind that's telling you you can't, you're not deserving, you're not worth it.
It's that internal voice. It's no one else but you really setting your own boundaries, putting up your own barriers and not breaking down those walls. You're the one that stops you from being what you want to be, essentially. All
the time. And, it's so interesting because I'm sure you've had many successes, just like starting this, radio, YouTube, podcast. That's just awesome because one day, over a course of many days, I'm sure you had to build into this and say, here we go, flip the switch. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I've got an idea what I want to happen. And you're still formulating that as you go, which is awesome. But for God's sakes, you're doing it.
Right.
I mean, how many people sit on the sideline for too long, and it's sad, and, you know, that word regret comes into play, and you're just like, God, bless it, man. God.
Gary Vee, you know who Gary Vee is, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right, so Gary Vee talks about that all the time. He's like, you need to volunteer in an old folks home where you're talking to people who don't have time left, who are physically unable to go out and do what it is they want to do, and sit down and talk to their stories. And the worst thing that you can see in one of those person's eyes is regret. I wish I coulda, I wish I shoulda, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda,
Yeah.
but without time.
Yeah.
That's what you want to avoid. I'll tell you a funny story. So my wife and I, we've been together. This is one of those, you know, you just had one of those aha moments. So
Yes,
in
sir.
February, I always talk about how we have 2 anniversaries. I have the anniversary where I won and got her, right? This was when we were dating. I was pursuing her, right? And then the anniversary where she won, which is when we got married. Right?
I love it.
And so I always plan the one that's in February, and we just completed 18 years. And so
Wow.
I'm sitting in my classroom, and I'm like, you know, it's my 18th, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, my relationship is older than anyone in this room. So it kind of aged me a little bit, but dude, those are one of those things that I forgot where I was going with that story. What were we talking about right before that?
Talking a little bit Gary Vee being in an old person's home.
Oh yes. So my wife said we've been married now 13 years, and so she said when we turn 15 years, she wants to get some tattoos. And I was like, well, I don't know if I want to get a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. I can't think of anything that I want to put in my body. And
Right.
I thought of the movie We're the Millers. I don't know if you've seen that, but the kid comes up and he has a tattoo on his neck, and it says "No Regrets" with an A. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? That's me. I think there's one of those things where you fail forward, you make mistakes. I think I would intentionally get a tattoo misspelled that says "No Regrets" just to show the irony in my life that I'm not going to have a regret. I'm going to go out and I'm going to try. I might fail, I might fall, I might skid my knees, I might break an arm or something, but I'm going to get up and I'm keep going and I'm keep moving forward. And that's kind of, I thought, if anything, that would be the weirdest thing. I don't think I'll ever get it on my neck or anything. Maybe, you know, hidden away on a leg. But
you start doing it up here and on your face. It's a
whole different ballgame.
Yeah, bro. Especially when you're selling real estate. Hey,
yeah,
you need to trust me and know that I'm competent. I've got this teardrop right here. It doesn't mean anything. I swear.
But if you don't sign my contract.
Yeah. Just remember. Oh my God, that's awesome. Well, I got to coach with my dad after I got done playing. So that was really neat. Coach freshman football, and kind of related to your story of just going for it. I'll never forget. So I'm 6'1", about 285, way too big. Dad though was about 6'4", God, probably about 320. I mean, he was a hoss.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah, and so he had coached varsity stuff his entire career, and then had an opportunity to actually come back to the high school where I was playing and coach freshman football. So it was really interesting because, you know, he coached at a higher level, if you will, took a step back and really became the teacher, you know, taking a 14, 15-year-old kid who had never, you know, maybe played tackle football to giving them confidence. Because as I'm sure, did you play any football?
Yeah, I did.
So that first time that, you know, you're going to hit somebody and your face mask is going to, you know, lead, that's kind of like, okay, is this stupid doing this? You know,
you're putting yourself in harm's way. What are you doing?
And I'm running full speed at him. This could really hurt, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But watching that progression of learning how to do it correctly, right, and then, you know, executing it and having a good result and not getting hurt, and, you know, all those good things, making a clean hit. And one of the things too is you learn is the snap count, right, on offense.
Yes.
So that you know when to obviously start a play. So I'll never forget Dad sitting there. We're probably 3 weeks in, and this kid, God, he was probably maybe 140 pounds wet as a freshman, which most freshmen are, you know, somewhat small, that's for sure. And he was, I think, our offensive tackle, playing at 140 pounds. God bless him.
Ooh.
Yeah, he could block a pigeon. Um, so he jumped off sides. So my dad, being this big dude, comes over to him, puts his arm around him, and he says, "Now listen to me. This is what I need you to do. You're off sides. We're going to get a penalty. But I want you to take this moment, and I want you to go across the line of scrimmage. We have a free play. Hit the living shit out of their guard so that he knows that on the next snap, you're going to kick his ass." So, yeah, I mean, just took a teaching moment, right? Just full speed. You screwed up. It's okay. Maybe we get a little something out of it, that we remind that kid that, hey, next play I'm coming for you. And you got one. So, instead of just losing it, going completely psychotic like some coaches do, and don't get me wrong, Dad had his moments.
But that's a great parallel to the way that the people who get into business, people that get into sales really tend to not operate. In other words, people in sales might make a call and, jump off sides by, getting somebody to yell at them or not having a good introductory or knocking on a door, not knowing what to say, and have those moments. And instead of, thinking about, okay, I made a mistake, how can I make it better, and go full force,
right?
They walk away. They never take the initiative to move forward. I don't like that. That made me uncomfortable. Being on the other side of uncomfortable is where all the success happens, right? That kid that went off sides, if he got drilled into, you never do that, don't ever do that again, he's never going to want to go and take that step forward. So he might be on the line again, but when the ball gets snapped, he's not offensive anymore. He's being run over because he's never taken that first step forward. And that's where a lot of salespeople, I think, tend to fall off. And I think a good teacher, a good instructor, a good coach, whether it's in sports, in education, or in sales, is going to help you understand that it's okay that you made that mistake. Learn from this mistake.
Right.
Full speed ahead.
Big time. Yeah, you've got to be able to be conscious of that and take your shots. I mean, obviously, Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson was a great athlete. Michael Jordan. Jesus, Michael Jackson. I don't even know if he knew what a basketball was. God bless him.
You know what? But he worked just as hard on his music.
He did. He had a great moonwalk, which I sure in the hell do not have. That is not in my repertoire.
I can walk and look at the moon at the same time. That's about all I got there.
I can chew gum and walk. Possibly blow a bubble. But yeah, I mean, you hear about Jordan being cut from his high school team, right? And what that was for him. But I think sometimes too, and I've been there too. I think everybody has, seasons, as I like to call them, right? Where we sometimes get caught up into the semantics and the feel goods or whatever that is, versus just like when you and I just get up and do the old Nike, right? Just do it. Just do it. I can't hear that enough, because how many times have I sat, even in my journey, in front of a computer, worked on a flyer for 30 or 40 minutes and thought, oh man, this is work.
Yes. Yeah. It's not a money-making activity.
Yeah. Now if it's 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, yeah, absolutely. So I think that's the other part, right? Is the prioritization of time. I mean, from 8 to 5 for sure, 8 to 6. You better be doing money-making activity, just what you said. What you said. And for me, it kind of breaks down into 3 things, right? We got lead gen, we got lead capture, we got lead conversion. I try to, I'm all about KISS, keep it simple. Because the simpler it is, the more I'm going to execute it. And I think that's true for all of us.
Absolutely. And all 3 of those things, lead generation, I mean, we call it lead follow-up and set your appointment, but I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, your conversion.
Right.
It's all 3 of them. You're putting yourself in a position to hear no. That's really what it is. If you're not putting yourself in a position to hear no, you're not working. Yeah, flyer's great. Yes, a website's cool. Yes, creating a video is great. All those things are great.
Or Facebook Live.
Facebook Live for supplements, but you need to put yourself in a position to hear no.
Right.
If you're not doing that, it's not a money-making activity.
Right. Absolutely. So, and then the other part today that, you and I both are so it's such a part of our journey is, computer and technology. And there's such a buzz now about the iBuyer, Purple Brick, Zillow. My God, Zillow's new CEO. You know where he was the former CEO at?
No, where was he at?
Expedia.
Travelocity type. Yeah.
So you don't think that guy's got a target to do what he's done to travel agents, to our industry, right? And that's all well and good. But if you and I make great relations and do the heavy lifting and expose ourselves to the nose, you think Zillow agent sitting in a cubicle is going to be making phone calls or accepting phone calls on a Friday night at 8:00? No.
Not the licensed agent kind of guy.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. So there's still so much room to grow that and nurture that database, right? That's the other thing. It's interesting because Gary Keller, obviously Keller Williams, I think as an organization, those guys have just great teaching themselves.
Yes.
If you've ever read the Red Book, his famous.
I haven't. It's been recommended a couple times. And we've had a couple killer agents on the show that rave about it and built their teams around that, the strategies that are listed in the book.
Yeah. And I think that, again, being the son of a football coach and teacher, having a playbook, right? I think that's a great thing to lean into. It'll be interesting to see if, Gary's gone a little cuckoo, because obviously he tightened down the hatches a little bit. And again, not to rip on any of the KW folks. I think they're trying as hard as we are. But I think if we can create some synergy where we have more people, Chad Prayer, one of my guys at Hancock Mortgage, he's got a great saying. He wants everybody to eat at the table. He wants to take as many people with him. And I think that's a great place to come where our industry is today, because at the end of the day, none of this is mine. No. This isn't mine. I'm a faith-based guy. I believe that God's got the power of the whole journey. And for sure, it's our responsibility to do what you and I are doing right now. We're sharing with each other. We're making each other better today. And hopefully maybe one or two people pick up a phone because of something maybe you said or I said. Right. And makes an extra phone call, Right. Because that's taking action. That's
absolutely.
Every day.
And I've been saying this a lot lately. I've always had that mentality. My dad is one of those people who has a personal integrity creed, and he's instilled it in us since we were kids, whether we knew it or not. There were certain aspects of life where, this is what you do, and it's important that you do these things not only when people are around, but when nobody's looking. This is who you need to be as an individual, because that's the true definition of integrity. When nobody's looking, are you doing the right thing?
Right.
And it's so one of those things, and being able to give back. Right. And so when we did the podcast, our saying was, the number one rule in business is to be of service to others. And every business we've ever built, we've had that focus, but nothing more than I think with the success that we've had with the podcast, because we've built it literally around you guys, our guests. It's not, there's nothing really in it for us other than we get to establish new relationships with people, and we get to learn from you. Literally, if I could plug in like the Matrix in the back of my head and just absorb knowledge, I would. That's one of the funnest things that I could possibly do. And how better to do that than to have a conversation with someone like yourself on a show. And not only do I benefit, but so do listeners out there that benefit from your stories, your trials, your tribulations, your successes, your failures, everything that you've felt. There's people who have felt the same thing. Every failure you've had, there's people out there who have had the same failures. And yet
all you have to do is look at the Bible.
Oh,
and if I appreciate the religious aspect of it, but for those that don't, that's for you. That's fine. But from a historic sense, let alone the history of man, because that is a great history of man. We didn't get it right back then. We're really not getting it right today.
Yeah.
But by just what you said, doing things like this. I really appreciate how you share about your dad and what he meant to you. I think that's what we are called to do, is pass on the good stuff to that next generation.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
doing those things, they can only continue to try and improve themselves and continue to put a piece of us into others as we, go on our journey. That's for sure.
Well, tell me a little bit. So we got to know you, on your level, a little bit about your history. What's life like for you now? What types of things are you doing today that you've reaped the benefits of your trials and tribulations in the past?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and it was actually really, really recent, coming to Hancock Mortgage. Uh, in my past, I was a very consumer direct kind of guy. Did a whole bunch of teacher and public employee loans. Dad, thank God, liked me a little bit. So he allowed me to get to know some teachers. And when I'm still doing loans in California, still licensed there. But the California State Teachers Retirement System,
Cal
CalSTRS.
Stirs,
You've heard of that? Yeah. And then their brother or sister, if you will,
CalPERS.
PERS. Yep,
Mhm.
PERS and STRS. So they had a loan program back in the day. And unfortunately, in '09, after the crash, they
Right up.
shut it down. Yeah, they shut it down. So I took that, what I was doing with that, and kind of created my own. We call it PATH, Public Employee Teacher Home Loan Program. And I was going specifically after that. Made a shift to a company. We'll just leave it unknown at this moment. No big deal, because I think well of them, but they just didn't do some of the things that I needed them to do, and I kept believing. Shame on me. And I also didn't do some things like you're saying in the trial time. I didn't, so I had to go back out and start working with real estate agents again, and hadn't done that for literally about 10 years. Didn't have any real realtor relationships. So shame on me for that. That's for sure. And so I find Hancock Mortgage. There's a guy by the name of Johnny Fowler. I would please, if you're listening to this, Google Johnny Fowler. He's a great, just unbelievable. I followed him for 2 years on Facebook and some YouTube stuff. Frank Gray and Brian Stevens of the National Real Estate Post, guys that have been around for almost 12 years. I think it's 11 that they're on right now, doing a daily show, similar to yours. They talk with each other,
Mhm.
and occasionally they'll have a guest on, but really it's about kind of current news, what's going on. They built a side company with some folks called Listing Booster.
Oh.
And this thing, I'm not, like I said, the technology thing I'm all about. I love it. But I'm always skeptical, because how many guys and gals can you and I give money to develop a lead gen program through social media?
Well,
Right?
the thing is, we're always looking for the easy button,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
is always there's always going to be the next shiny thing. And
Oh,
so,
I call it squirrel, right?
exactly, squirrel.
Yeah. I mean,
It's exactly what it is.
yeah. Or if I take this pill, I won't be 285 anymore. I'll be the ideal weight of like 224, like I'm supposed to be.
With pecs and abs.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, living the dream. Woke up.
No.
So they've got this thing called Listing Booster. Well, with Hancock, we're really blessed. We actually are able to access that because of Hancock's relationship with Frank and Brian. They're Johnny Fowler and Brian Stevens, really, really good friends. In fact, Brian wrote the foreword to Johnny's book that came out about 2-3 months ago now. So really good friends. So start using Listing Booster, and it's a single property website, which, there's 12 million of those types of programs out there. But this thing has lead capture on it, on everything. So if you want to get involved and look at a property, you've got to give us some of your information. Well, just in 8 weeks that I have been doing their program and religious to it, got 6 agents that are using it, 130 leads for 6 agents in 8 weeks.
Wow.
I've never done that in my career. We actually have 3 of those in contract right now that will close in the next 2 to 4 weeks. And I've got another 6 qualified out shopping for homes. So 9 out of 125.
So as a lender coming to the table, trying to build relationships with real estate agents, I'm noticing a huge shift. It used to be one of those where, here, let me buy you coffee. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's see if our personalities mesh, and then
Right.
we'll kind of go from there. Not that that doesn't exist. It's still part of the game,
Sure.
but you're coming with value at this point. You're like, hey, Mr. Real Estate Agent, I
Right.
have these leads that kind of need representation.
Right.
Um, you interested?
Right.
And that's
It's
really the
totally,
pitch, right?
it is totally, so you could just imagine as you're doing that reinvigorates me to pick up the phone on a daily basis and find out who wants to play. I mean,
Yeah.
who, and if you don't, the other thing I've learned too, and again, this is kind of such a great thing about being 55 years old now. I am not the 35-year-old egotistical, complete jackass that I look back. And not that I don't think I was that bad, but I sure am not. I think you get more humble, I hope, as you
The
get
more
older.
experiences you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I've learned, there'll be some people that'll listen to us today that just aren't ready to hear the message. And that's, all we do is we're going to hope that at some point in time, if it's not you and me or some other guest that you have, maybe it's some other speaker that they listen to that moves them
Right.
into a direction that makes them better. But so those agents that aren't, maybe ready because, they've been sold so much crap or they've paid some Facebook guru to get Facebook leads. And, I've given this guy $500 and I've got 4 leads and they're all crap, that, because everybody's a Facebook lead generator now. My God,
They're everywhere.
Google that thing. Yeah.
And that's not to lock Facebook lead gen or Instagram lead gen. Those are still ways of generating leads. Here's the downside. Here's what I tell people all the time. Doesn't matter where you generate leads. A lead is a lead, but a lead ultimately is worthless. A lead has zero value until it becomes an appointment. And it requires that you still pick up the phone, that you still make contact with them, you follow up, you pre-qualify, and then you get them in a position where they're able to buy. You get them in a position where you can set that appointment. So it doesn't matter where the leads come from. I mean, there's crap leads in every scenario that you come from. It's just a matter of you getting on the phone and pre-qualifying. It's just somebody else that you can reach out to.
Right. Absolutely. And I've, learned again through the Hancock model that what's really neat with us, to me, is we lead with you as an agent. They don't, I laugh now because I was one of these guys that I'd get on some Facebook Live or something like this, and I'd start talking about the 10-year bond and what's causing the market, all this other. I look at it, it's all stupid, boring shit.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that crap. But what they do want to see is they want to see a really bitchin' home with a patio that I can go out near a fireplace and drink Bloody Marys on a Sunday morning and, look at my hot wife. Okay, that's fun.
Cool. I want a little bit of that story.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to live in that. Let's talk about, how do I get that house?
Exactly.
Then, and only then, oh, you know what? That's great, man. Let me introduce you to the mortgage guy who's going to tell us what your buying power is.
Right.
See, key word, right? Buying power versus let's get you pre-qualified. Pre-qualified, you mean I got like prostate cancer? Or, come on, man. That's not fun.
Yep.
But tell me my buying power. Shit. You mean I got the Amex Black card?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
Let's do this.
Yeah. Holy
yeah, I mean, what you say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
that's exactly it. I mean, again, it's one of those things where if you're not calling them, if you're not following up, if you don't know what to say, because I'll tell you, you can call 130 leads that you had, and you start telling them, hey, by the way, do you pre-qualify? Do you have your 2 tax returns? But you can get really statistically boring. And don't get me wrong, you're still going to get something out of it.
Right.
Over time, you ask the questions, you're going to get something out of it. But if you can finesse it just a little bit, if you change your verbiage just a little bit, your conversion ratio is going to increase. It's going to get better.
Well, and then to the kind of the backside, which I think as an industry, we just do a really poor job. We always have, and I think in sales overall, and that's the referral, right? So we do all this lead gen, and we're talking to these quote unquote cold people, like you're saying, and where do we go? And to the dialogue, I talk about the Nordstrom's experience versus the Walmart experience, right? Mm-hmm. And they each serve a purpose. They each, we've got to have them both. But when you get married, have a baby, buy a home, that has got to be, those are Nordstrom's experience.
They have to be. Yeah.
Those are moments that if I've got, and I've never bought a $500 pair of shoes, let me just
throwing it out there. Neither have I.
I'm a son of a football coach and teacher, man. Now my
clearance rack Nikes is all me, right?
Yeah. Now my wife, on the other hand, I don't know if she's gotten quite to that level, but we'll just let that lie. Because mama's pretty great. But I've heard of stories from friends of mine, $500 pair of shoes, walk back in 2 weeks later, hey, this thing busted out, leather, chip, whatever. Hand it back, hand them a brand new pair of shoes without questioning, right? I mean, that's that Nordstrom's level of, experience that we deserve to have our borrowers and our, buyers and sellers deserve that. That's for sure. So then when we deliver that, I always tell people all the time, during that 30, 60, 90, 120 days that they're in this mode, what in God's name do you think that they're talking to their family, friends, and coworkers about?
Their experience.
And them buying their house, right? Hey, what have you been up to this weekend?
Oh, man, I went to go see a couple houses.
Yeah.
Oh, man, check out my buying power.
Yeah. There you go. Right? And don't you ever think that they hear maybe once out of those 90, 120 days? I've been thinking about that too.
Right.
Of course they have. They hear that. So we've got to do a great job of coaching our clients about that Nordstrom's experience. And with that comes, it's really important so that I can keep my head down and focus on your, deal and make sure you're taken care of. If you have someone who you come in contact with that's thinking about buying or selling real estate, could you please call me and let me know who they are and take it to that degree. We talk about, let's get a deal while we're in the deal. Let's create the next deal while we're in that deal, because they're going to find one person that's thinking about buying or selling a house.
So I'm gonna shoot you a contradictory opinion that I had from another agent that I thought was also sort of logical. Okay. So he said that one of the things he likes to do is when the deal closes, instead of sending them a bottle of wine or something, he likes to treat them out for dinner. Okay. And because one thing is, he can break bread, and then once you're having that conversation, it's much easier. And at that point is when he's, in that situation, he's like, hey, who else do you know that is interested, where you were talking about, that sort of dialogue ends up happening during the conversation at dinner. And the reason why he wanted to do it at dinner is because he felt that while they're working with you, they only want you to work with them. And I thought, I don't know, that does make sense. I don't want to share my, this is my guy. He's amazing, but I need him to be amazing for me. But once it's done, you should definitely talk to my guy. He's
dating me right now.
Right. He can't date you. But when I'm done with him, you can have him.
Going to the prom.
Yeah.
You to homecoming.
Exactly. And so, I figure the way you're doing it makes sense too. I don't know. Why not do both?
I was going to say, I think the biggest thing is, to your point, is ask.
Yes.
Freaking, I don't care when you ask, to be honest.
Ask.
But ask. And know that you should ask, because if you're going to deliver that Nordstrom, see, that's the key though. You have to deliver that great experience.
100%.
And yeah, we're going to have clients that are kind of challenging, that's for sure. But for the most part, I think most clients, honest to God, when I look back at my tenure, most clients really have been really, really good. I'd say if I was going to put a percent, probably almost 90% I mean, maybe 10% have been like, I wish I would have never got involved with that person.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But every business is going to have that situation, and sometimes it's things that you're not controlling. But for the most part, if you have a system in place and you can control the experience that's going around, you put things in place,
right.
little reminders to remind your client what's up, communication points to especially critical points in the process, different little situations like that. For the most part, you're going to get a good experience.
Absolutely. And you lean back into the kind of relationship part. And I'll go full circle. I always tell people, and it's great that you've been married 13 years, right?
Yeah.
And then how long have you been with your wife though?
18.
So see, I share that with people because I hope what it says about me is that I understand commitment.
Yeah.
Because that's the most primary relationship you and I have. And if we're committed to that, do you think that elements of that also go into our business relationships? For me, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm in with you, I'm all in. I'm not going to tip my toe or, no. Like we were saying earlier, if you're going to go all in, go.
That's right.
Go all in.
Put your foot forward.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask. Because if you're not here, if you're not putting yourself in a position to hear no, you're not working.
You're not. And what's really great, NAR's latest statistic that I saw, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they did a poll of how many clients would go back to the agent that they had used for their last transaction. Do you know what that number is offhand?
No, I don't know off the top of my head now.
8% would go back. 92%.
That means no 5-star treatment.
No.
You're not providing that Nordstrom experience.
So how much opportunity is there for that?
About 92% of the buying population.
Off the charts, man.
Off the charts. Hey, man, we're rounding the bend on time. So I want to make sure that you get your contact information out to everybody. And then I'm going to have you tag someone who you think would be good to be on the podcast.
Okay.
All right.
So contact information.
Contact information first. How do people get a hold of you?
A couple different ways, obviously. Please reach out. Facebook. Let's connect. Jump online in the search bar. If you type in Craig Johnson or Ask the Loan Dude, that's a tag of mine. It's a tag of a couple people, that's for sure. But it's something that I absolutely love. It reminds me of my beach roots, even though we live here in Texas now.
Less of a dude, more of a y'all.
Yeah, and not. And as soon as I open up my mouth up here, they go, "Yeah, you're not from here." Yeah. Sorry. And if I go, dude, or that's bitching, game over, man. They know I'm not.
You still need to acclimate some more, so you're getting there though.
Yeah, ride a horse, save a cowboy, something like that. But so Facebook, Instagram, Ask the Loan Dude, and then cell phone number 714-604-9587, 714-604-9587.
All right, who do you think is going to be great to be on the podcast next? And then we have you tag them on Facebook, make the introduction, and then I got to go put myself in a position to hear no.
I like it. I think I would have. I would love to have you talk to Johnny Fowler.
All right.
That would be awesome, man. He would be, and Johnny's pull would help you pull. He's just that kind of guy. Just a really dynamic. I tell Johnny all the time, if he wasn't the VP owner of our company, he should be coaching linebackers. He's a Sicilian mobster, man. He's got the little Italian ring, and he's got the big heart.
He'll help those 140-pounders make big hits.
Dude, big time. Yeah, big. Absolutely, sir.
All right, Craig. Hey, man, thanks a lot for being on the show. Really appreciate your time. I know you're a different time zone, so I got you a little bit later in the evening.
Yeah, no big deal, man. I'm blessed to be with you, and thank you so much. And maybe we can chat again one day.
Sounds good to me, my brother. Thanks a lot.
All right, man.
Everybody else, if you guys want to, if you can't get a hold of Craig, let me know. Hernan@csfirst.com, or if you want to be on the podcast for all of your insurance needs, James@csfirst.com. His number is 619-884-0045, or follow us on our social media @BusinessBrosPod. That's all we got for you guys today. Peace. Thanks.
Peace.
I'm out.